Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today, I'm so overjoyed to return to Raymond Charles Barker. We have had 2 episodes where we discussed the writings and philosophy of Raymond Charles Barker, one on the cause of all colds, and one on money is God in action. And I really love how he describes stuff. It's very uplifting. And I found a chapter in his book, The Power of Decision, called Decide to Live Richly. I found it very motivational. When he talks about prosperity and living richly, it is very motivational and uplifting and inspiring. I think that you'll really get a lot out of this. Decide to live richly. The grandeur of life is known by the few when it should be known by the many. The majority of people live in part only. They are half healthy, half wealthy, half happy, and half creative. They have accepted this halfway of living as normal. Once in a while, in a rare moment, they glimpse a larger life and wish that it could be so. They then return to their habitual thinking and continue to function in their half-hearted way. Half living is abnormal and unnecessary. You can live a much fuller life right where you are in your present circumstances. It does not require more money, a better job, a nicer home, or a different marriage partner. It requires a change of consciousness. And this you can do, for you are a thinker. You are the controller of your consciousness. The moment you decide to live a richer life, your consciousness will devise the ways and means of your having it. Consciousness contains total intelligence because consciousness is the action of the infinite mind thinking. Your consciousness is the individualization of the total consciousness of being. That is why it will demonstrate for you a richer life when you are certain you want it and have decided to have it. It all depends on you, not on the world of events, things, and people. Your mind is where you live. Your world, your body, and your situation react in exact accordance to your mind. Not someone else's mind. Your mind. An expanded consciousness expresses in an expanded experience. This is the way the law of mind works, and it works no other way. A greater and happier outward experience requires a larger and fuller knowing in consciousness to precede it. Many people use this mental law in reverse. They think in smaller terms all the time. They unconsciously lessen their viewpoints, take less and less interest in the business of living, and wonder why they are unhappy and limited in scope. If you were to tell them that it is because of their consciousness, they would be furious. They live in the closed-in belief that nothing is their fault, that somehow the situation developed by its own causation. So they adjust to the lesser life and say that those who are able to live with ease and in order are lucky. The latter are not lucky, they are wise. They see themselves in a larger way. They not only glimpse the greater, they grasp it. Redefine yourself. The psalmist wrote, "Thou openest thine hand and satisfiest the desire of every living thing." Psalms 145:16. This is the divine givingness in which we are forever immersed. This is why the kingdom of heaven is on earth right now and can be experienced now. The infinite mind, being infinite, could not create a limited creation. You are the unlimited creation of an unlimited source that is forever giving to you its unlimited ideas, possibilities, and potentialities. Its nature is to release itself in you, as you. It cannot withhold its ideas. By its very nature, it must express itself through man. The infinite is a divine extravagance. It is forever giving itself away. God knows no thrift. The infinite does not need to be thrifty, for it is an inexhaustible mind, an inexhaustible substance. It does not need to conserve, pinch, limit, or budget. It throws itself away, for it knows that only through expression can the abundant life be lived. Expression is release, and the infinite mind is forever throwing itself away, releasing itself. In order for it to have total self-expression, it has to be a total givingness. This is the divine magnificence. You are a part of this creative process of the infinite throwing itself away. You are the receiver of the infinite bounty. To you are given the total ideas of the universe. They are given to you in order that you, too, shall express them by throwing them into your subconscious with deliberate intent, and thus keeping your world fresh, new, and different. All of life wants you to live fully. All the love there is wants you to love fully. All the wisdom there is wants you to know yourself aright and fully use your capacities. You have everything going rightly on your side when you understand this science and use its principles. Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote, "Man's mind stretched to a new idea never goes back to its original dimensions." The more you are aware of the creative process and your place in it, the larger the dimensions of your consciousness and the greater your use of right decisions to keep right on expanding. The infinite is forever thinking out, not in. God is not self-centered. God is not self-concerned, for God has nothing to fear. The infinite knows no enemy, for there is no opposition. It has no fight, argument, or battle. It is at pace within itself. You are the taker from the infinite in order to be the giver to the finite. Expression is a law of psychological health. Repression is the same law in reverse, so it appears to act as a law of emotional illness. Too many religious systems have taught doctrines of repression, thereby limiting and psychologically crippling their adherents. Our system does the opposite. We know that expression is the law of life. It is the law of life giving itself away by means of man. Man takes in order to give. This is the divinely balanced process of creative consciousness. When a person takes but fails to give, he has established confusion within himself, and some form of deterioration begins to be born in his experience. The divine law of taking and giving cannot be abrogated without trouble being born. The following, spoken aloud, will be of help. The infinite is always imparting itself to me. It created me in order to give itself away by means of me. I am the divine recipient of all the ideas of life, truth, and love. I now accept these ideas from the bounty which has already been given to me. My subconscious mind rejoices in this new material with its creative directives. It creates new situations better than any that have gone before. These new situations are means by which I give myself to a better world and to a finer humanity. I am the receiving and distributing process of the divine mind. I know I myself as this. I respect myself for this. I give praise and thanks that this is so because it is so. Thus, you are knowing yourself as you are in God, thereby ceasing the incorrect knowledge of yourself as mere man or woman. This redefinition is essential for your health, wealth, love, and self-expression. It proclaims your wholeness to yourself, that becomes what you declare it to be. You are whole. You are sound. You are the taking, giving action of the abundant life. You are in your right place, doing your right work, releasing right ideas at every instant of time. You know yourself as God knows you. This clear, correct self-knowing is consciousness, being used as consciousness was intended to be used. It erases the false concept of humanity for all time, revealing the true nature of divinity that has always been in your consciousness, waiting for you to know yourself as you really are by ceasing to know yourself as that which you are not. Stretch your spiritual muscles. If some of the statements made in this seem to be beyond belief, even fantastic in their claims, keep on with them as they will stretch your mind a bit. This is healthy mental exercise. Most systems of physical exercise are incredible to the onlooker, yet they produce results. Persisted in, they maintain the individual in physical well-being. So will the spiritual sights that you glimpse reveal a mental and spiritual well-being if persisted in over a period of time. Many times, students in my classes have heard me repeat some of these ideas over a period of 5 or 10 years, and then suddenly an idea clarifies itself in their minds. What to them had bordered on the absurd was suddenly a truth. Now they knew what I was teaching. Now they could benefit by this new knowledge that had suddenly burst in their consciousness. Paul wrote, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away." 1 Corinthians 13, 9-10. Spiritual truths mold over in the mind eventually clarify themselves. Looking back at your old religious beliefs, you may wonder now how you could have believed in them ever. But you did at the time believe them, and you would have never even read more than the first paragraph of this book. You would have set it aside and been rather caustic about it. To have read this far indicates that you have found some stimulating new concepts and are considering them. A full and rich life has to be premised on spiritual understanding. As I have said before, things alone do not make a full life. They give us comfort, and this in itself may lull our consciousness to sleep when spiritual ideas are suggested. For many people, spiritual ideas are incredible, so they dismiss them from their thoughts. What they learned about God in childhood is equally incredible, but this they fail to realize. They have learned to live with such beliefs and see no reasons for trying anything new along spiritual lines, especially when the newer ideas are garbled in strange vocabularies. New ideas have to have new vocabularies. Every new area of science, as it develops, begets new words, new phrases, and a whole new terminology. In order to present the ideas of God as mind, man as that mind in action, and the universe as that mind in reaction, the consciousness of the individual has to be ready to perceive words used in new ways and having new meanings. I am thinking of all the new words and terms that have been created by the birth of the automobile. Even that word itself was created to take the place of the term the horseless carriage. Every part and function of the automobile had to be given a new name. So, when you start thinking spiritually instead of theologically, you have to accept and assimilate a whole new language. Often the new terms in the new language are not really understood for a long time. Spiritual awareness expands spiritual understanding, which then ennobles the whole consciousness of the individual. New definitions and new explanations given to old spiritual terms bring enlightenment. God as mind instead of God as a superman opens up all kinds of questions and leads to all kinds of new thoughts and convictions. Man as a divine individualization of all life negates the man born to sin. All this causes mental exercise, which in turn causes expansion in awareness. It is like living in a large city and at dusk, watching the lights gradually come on in office buildings and homes. Everything is seen in a new dimension, and though it may not be fully comprehended, yet the mind expands. I often say to myself, God is wonderful. I am wonderful. Life is wonderful. All is wonderful because God is the wonder of it all. Such sentences would stick in the throats of many old-time religionists and would be considered blasphemous. I consider them to be the truth. For me, they open up new vistas, new horizons. I see myself in a larger framework. I sense the unity of all things. I have a deeper dedication to right living based upon affirmative thinking. I realize that my five-sense mind with its great intellect is not all there is to life. The unknown ways of the Spirit can be known by me. I am not in a spiritual mystery that cannot be comprehended. I am in a spiritual explanation in which I can grow in understanding it and the ways in which it works. I do not have to take spiritual ideas on faith. I explore them until I have a clear knowledge of them. Then they are my possessions, my pearls of great price. The full life is a field of limitless opportunity. It requires no physical labor. It bids you to think new thoughts about the eternal verities and thus reshape your conclusions. You see yourself as you have never seen yourself before. You sense the spiritual power that is really yours, a power for you to use to live richly, happily, and to give in new ways to other people. You have the sense that you are unconditioned and free. No problems control your thinking. Your thinking controls and dissipates all problems. Your knowingness is always on time. You know what you need to know at the time that you need to know it. All ideas are available to you, and your mind is open and receptive to them. You rejoice in the limitless opportunity that is yours. Those who live the full life have no fear of the future. They know that tomorrow is today amplified. Tomorrow is the outpicturing of today in a new arrangement. If there is no fear of this day, then there will be no fear in another day. Present consciousness is always the future experience. The future is secure for those who are living in mental and emotional security right now. Rather than fear the future, plan the future and put it into some excitement. It all starts with present thinking. If today's thinking is not exciting, then tomorrow's experience will not be either. As a thinker thinking, you can create what you want when you want it, and this robs the future of any negative suggestion. You are free in time. Past, present, and future are controllable. The past can be cleansed. The present can be made fruitful. The future can be what you decide it shall be. All of this is possible because you are consciousness making creative decisions. Exercising your spiritual muscles by accepting new ideas makes you aware of the wonder of it all. By knowing that all things, people, situations, and events are spiritual, you live in the amazement of the Spirit. Truth, love, and beauty can be seen in everything. It is as though you suddenly saw colors for the first time. A new dimension seems to be added to everything. The pebble on the beach is not just a stone. Now it is a work of art to be studied, to be felt, to be praised. Suddenly all things, great or small, are of equal importance, and they bring to you interesting concepts to be considered. All things add to your wealth of mind and emotion. You see where you have not seen. You feel where you have not felt. The luminosity of God pervades your whole consciousness, and you know that heaven is this earth. You are in it. You are never again to be out of it. It surrounds, indwells, and fulfills itself by means of you. Now that your spiritual understanding is obvious to you, correct mental achievement. The full life has no stress nor strain in it. These have been left behind to become nothing. They always were nothing. But by not knowing spiritual ideas, we made their nothingness into something we thought was real. We knowingly or unknowingly placed ourselves under their rule. Now, having accepted the full life that is ours as spiritual beings, we have declared our emancipation from these unnecessary burden-creating beliefs. Their yoke is no more upon us. We are free to move forward to achieve the desires of our hearts. Your heart's desires are your great assets. They indicate the experiences you can have when you make your decisions to have them. They are mighty potentials awaiting your attention. They should never be ignored. With correct spiritual understanding, they can now emerge in your life to fulfill your life. As you think about them, they stir within your consciousness as the baby stirs within the mother's womb. They want out. They want to be made visible by means of you. They are knocking on the door of your intuition, trusting that you will open that door. All creation starts with desire. God desired self-expression, and the cosmos was born. The desires of your heart are the possibilities that can be manifested in your experience. Your right thinking animates them. They are restless to be born. Do not let your material humdrum thinking keep them stifled any longer. Desires are not hopes, nor are they dreams. They are potentials to be unearthed and brought to fruition. Start thinking of them as being not only possible, but actually so. A few days of glimpsing their possibility will lead you in planning their arrival. Take one of them and make it so by knowing that it is so. There will be a response once you have delivered to your subconscious mind the ultimatum of your decision that this desire is to be made a fact. Most real desires have been thwarted by indecision. Most people go to their deaths with unfulfilled heart's desires because they never decided to act upon them. They were either too busy, too lazy, or too tired. Not you. Living the full life, you are busy, but not too busy. You are always alert, keen, and active. You have normal fatigue, but not exhausting fatigue. You can bring forth your heart's desires because now you have the tools with which to work. To have correct mental achievement, you discard all indecision, all doubt, and all fear. You may raise the question of whether this can be done. Certainly it can be done, and you can do it. A firm decision that all indecision, doubt, and fear can no longer operate in your consciousness starts their dismissal, robs them of all authority, and relates them to complete unimportance. This is their death, and they can never experience a resurrection in you. You have crossed them out. Fear, indecision, and doubt may have ruled while you were in your Gethsemane of worry, but now they are crossed out in the cavalry of your decision that they are no more. Perhaps you are one of those people who, when they use the word God, find a subconscious fear stirring. Do not be afraid of the word God. If your former religious beliefs still have subconscious power, decide their untruth shall be revealed, and their truth shall continue to function in your consciousness. No one should fear God once God is realized as the divine givingness. Actually, it is a wonderful word, especially when you know its synonyms of mind, truth, and love. Realizing the impersonality of the creative process should in itself destroy any fear of God. Say aloud to yourself, I have no fear of God. The use of the word God cannot cause subconscious fears of a distant deity. God is where I am and what I am. The Spirit of God is my spirit. The love of God is my love. The creativity of God is my creativity. I am free of all fear, for now I understand what God is. I am aware of both omnipresence and immanence. I am at ease with the words God, Spirit, and truth. Likewise, your use of the word God may stir up old guilt. This is very possible. Again, it is the old false concept that God has watched every wrong thing or thought you have ever done or thought and is keeping a complete record of these things you will have to face someday. Intellectually, you may know this is not so, but the subconscious mind has never been told with any definiteness that this is not so. Therefore, the old guilt about God remains. Go to work on this mentally. A student may say to me that he now realizes that he can have what he wants in this full and rich life. He states that he has now decided on a certain objective. I reply that this is great news. He replies by saying he is not sure that it is. Then I know that subconscious guilt is making itself apparent, that feeling of whether a personal God would approve or disapprove. His guilt is not over the objective he has decided upon. The guilt is whether God would approve. So I tell him to do a specific treatment work to erase that false belief out of his subconscious mind. Having taught this science for a long time, I am certain that the most difficult concept for people really to accept is the one that they can have what they want in life. The old concept of the virtue of going without what you really want and accepting graciously the smaller portion of life as being a spiritual one is nonsense, and I know it. I hope by now you are convinced that you are free agent in an impersonal creative process that responds to you by becoming the thing you desire, once you have decided to have it or be it. If not, then go into your mental gymnasium and bat these ideas around until your subconscious mind stops acting on your old beliefs and proceeds to act upon this new belief. Then life will bring to fruition your decisions for a larger life and a greater experience. Prosperity. In my book, Treat Yourself to Life, I define prosperity as the ability to do what you want to do at the instant you want to do it. This is living the full life. You will note that the goal is not money. There are as many sick rich people as there are sick poor people. There are as many unhappy rich people as there are unhappy poor people. Money is this means to an end, but it is not the end in and of itself. The belief that money will solve your problems is a delusion. It never has and it never will, because your problems arise in and are created by your mind, not your checkbook. The way to solve problems is to change your thought and keep it changed. This is the correct decision to live a full life. Prosperity is a state of consciousness which can be generated by you when you let money be a means, not an end. Money does not buy a view, though it may take you to the place where you can see it. Money does not buy love. It does not buy a mother, a father, a child, a husband, or a wife. Money does not buy the great relationship you have with close friends. Money is process, not goal. Rest assured, I am not running down the value of money. No one appreciates its uses and values more than I do. I believe it to be God in action and often state this as a truth. It is a means by which the infinite circulates in my mind of affairs, giving me ease and joy. I sometimes say that money is an idea in the mind of God, the idea of circulation and ease. Then I say that I am an idea in the mind of God, and that these two ideas now coalesce. Therefore, I am money. Money results from the use of ideas. Ideas produce money, for they are really the cause of a prosperous consciousness. Spiritual ideas are free. They cannot be copyrighted or patented. They are mine to use, and I use them. I have been using them while writing this book. Spiritual ideas are always affirmative. They can never be destructive. They are thought-provoking. Though at first they may seem nebulous, the thoughts they engender gradually reveal sense, and then the practical aspects are obvious. You know, then, what to do and decide to do it. You are acting as a prosperity consciousness would act. People often tell me that they need a great deal of money right away, and they are not interested in being told that they must have a prosperity consciousness. They do not want creative ideas, they want money. I realize that they will not get the money without the consciousness of money, so I get out of their way. As a result of not getting the money, they say that this science does not work. It works when you use the methods it explains to you. Everything starts in the mind and is the result of mind action. People who are always in need of immediate money need to realize they have a bad pattern regarding money. Until they exchange it for a better pattern, their constant need will continue. Usually these people are unwise in handling money. One of the great benefits that comes with the realization that money is God in action is that of intelligent use of money. Unrealistic debts indicate that a person has a fantasy regarding money. He thinks he can get it without either mental or physical work. This is an impossibility. The universe responds by corresponding integrity and sincerity are key items in a correct prosperity consciousness. To run up bills and expect some God to pay them is ridiculous. Life does not work that way. These days of easy credit have led too many people into temptation. A prosperity consciousness can only be built on the basis of sound common sense. If the way you are going to spend money or assume debt is outside the realm of common sense, you are heading for trouble. Too many people have trusted in the Lord, forgetting that the Lord helps those who help themselves. Until your subconscious habit patterns regarding money are healthy, honest, and definite, you will not prosper. You may already have such healthy patterns. They may have been unconsciously created by your varied experiences. They may have been implanted in your subconscious mind during your younger years by your parents, or by the way in which you have lived as a family. People consider these fortunate souls as being lucky, but they are not. They are at ease in their thinking about money. They automatically demonstrate ease in their worlds as a result. They may not be as clear in other areas such as health and self-expression, or they may be. I believe there is a neurosis that accompanies serious debt. I know that in my early years, when I was just starting in the ministry and debts were seemingly necessary, I had a real sense of uneasiness that stayed with me until that day many years later, when I owed no man. It was like a haunted feeling. It did not necessarily depress me nor hinder me from progressing in my career. Now that I am free of it, I have a much greater sense of well-being and freedom of action. I make certain my bills are paid on time. I maintain a sense of order regarding my finances. Here is one area of my life where right action prevails. You can never escape from law and order. Those who seem to do so will find disorder increasing in their daily living. The way you handle the outer details of your life is an indication of the states of consciousness functioning in your subconscious mind. You have a right to judge a person by the way he lives, works, loves, and handles his financial responsibilities. Do some thinking about yourself. Perhaps you need to put your material world in better order. If so, start with some spiritual thinking. Think of your individual world as being in and of a spiritual law. Realize that your home, your business, your relationships with others, and your social life all take place in the infinite mind with its infinite intelligence. This same intelligence is in your mind. Thus, you will begin seeing your world from a new viewpoint, and the ideas necessary for straightening things out will reveal themselves to you. Doing things brings a new appreciation of life and living. Strain loses its tenacious hold, and serious worry cease. You have rearranged your mental patterns and have a fuller life. Serious lack or a fear of it prevents you from full self-expression. You cannot be the free person you want to be. It limits your creativeness. It keeps your sights set in the wrong directions. If this is your problem right now is the time to do something about it. Make your decision that you shall be set free of all present lack and limitation, and that there shall be none in your future. It has to be a very sincere decision with deep feelings. Following that decision, make statements like these. There is no rhyme nor reason for disorder in my world. My world is in God's world. God's world is governed by law and order, and so is mine. I now express the order and wisdom of the Spirit. My decision to be free of all lack and all fear of lack is definite. No longer shall poverty ideas function in my subconscious mind. I now authorize my subconscious to neutralize all such habit patterns. They are no more in their place. I now authorize healthy money patterns, healthy prosperity patterns. These new patterns are spiritual and are now in action in me. I know that this is so and act as though it were so. I am free, creative, and prosperous, inspired by creative ideas that impel me to right action producing right results. Your subconscious mind welcomes such a treatment because it is always in a state of expectancy. It is a receiving mind. By its very nature, it must act as a law of receptivity because it cannot refuse to accept what you place in it. Not being conscious, the subconscious mind has no way of knowing what you are putting in it. It only knows what to do with the material you give it. The more you watch your moods, attitudes, habits, and central ideas and stop all basic negatives from lingering in your attention, the richer and fuller your prosperity will be. I have known hundreds of people who have changed lifelong patterns of debt and lack by using these methods. Not quickly nor easily did the patterns change. The decision to prosper, followed by watching the conscious and subconscious minds and persisting in, refusing to let negative states continue, gradually brought the light of day, and a larger experience, certainly a freer experience, resulted. Expectations. Examine your expectations. They will tell you if you are a healthy-minded person. Our expectations are like a mental barometer. They indicate our subconscious thought patterns. They will indicate where changes need to be made. Ask yourself, what do you really expect in your life at the present moment? Write them down on paper. You may be startled as the days go by to see what you really are believing way down under. That subconscious mind of yours may have in it a great deal that you do not want. Healthy expectations are necessary to a healthy mind. You probably are not expecting enough out of life. You may have grown mentally dull without realizing it. You may have let minor failures and monotonous routines take over areas of your thinking. If so, the time for a change has come. Why should you not expect the greatest and the finest in your life? We exist in a divine bounty that awaits our taking, and the way of taking is a mental one that starts with desire, decision, and expectancy. No one is ever too young or too old to expect great things. No one is too poor or too rich to expect great things. If you are sick, expect to get well. If you are unhappy, expect to be happy. No power outside yourself is demanding that you be miserable. All of life wants you to be healthy, happy, and free to do what you want to do. As I write this book, I expect it to be a great book. I expect it to sell all over the world. I expect that thousands of people whom I will never meet and never know will read this book and profit by it. I know what I want to have happen, so it will happen. Check your list of expectations quite often. They indicate just what you will get out of life at the present time. Rejoice in your good expectations and expand them. Daydream about them. Give them the food of your creative thinking. Nourish them with anticipation. Watch for all indications that they are bringing results. Jesus said, "And these signs shall follow them that believe." Mark 16:17. Check also your expectations of doom, continued limitation, and probable failure in varying areas of your life. Get to work on these. They are danger signals. They indicate troubles that may come to you because your subconscious mind has the materials with which to make that happen. These must be negated with authority in your mind. Do not let them linger in the halls of your mind. Use spiritual, mental work to neutralize them and to create their affirmative opposites. You may discover that you feel quite at home in your limited expectations. They have had power and authority in your mind for years. You probably did not even realize that such patterns existed in your subconscious. The sooner you take correct spiritual and mental action on these, the better. They are potentials of trouble. They are subconscious minds ready to explode, ready to rise to the surface. When they do, you may remark that the experience is just what you expected all along. The truth has become the fact. The phrase, "just what I expected would happen," is rarely used when good things happen. It is usually kept as a pronouncement of trouble. The tone that accompanies it is one of satisfaction and righteousness. The person has proven his point. He probably does not know that he has proven this entire teaching only on the negative side. His mind has brought to him what he was subconsciously planning because of the negative materials he had placed in it. He has a negative success. His unconscious decision to have trouble has brought it to pass. Now, you know the law of mental expectation and are free to use it for a richer and fuller life. You do not have to keep on going as you have been going unless you like the way your life is flowing. In that case, you are right in your purposes, your sense of prosperity, and your expectations. But if you want more, need more, or desire more, you now have the information. You need to live fully. Others are doing it, and you might as well join in the throng of those who expect grandly. You are a free agent as far as your mind is concerned. You alone decide what shall be. This is the responsibility of life. For one person, it opens the door to limitations and frustration. For another, it opens the wider door to freedom, growth, and true prosperity, which is the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. One of my favorite Bible verses is, "Both riches and honor come of thee, and thou reignest over all." 1 Chronicles 29:12. I believe that the Infinite wants every person to be free in his experience and to control it. The Spirit in you awaits your recognition and use. And that is Decide to Live Richly by Raymond Charles Barker. Very uplifting, incredibly inspiring. It's so easy to get caught up in that thinking of lack, even for those who are aware of it and know of it. And I would definitely come back to this if you're struggling with it, or as a reminder of what prosperity consciousness is. Redefine yourself. Change the way you think. Change the way you think about God. Change your subconscious mind. There's some really good teachings here to become aware of the deep subconscious beliefs that you have, which may be working against you. There's some great affirmations that you can use that will help you. The Infinite is always imparting itself to me. It created me in order to give itself away by means of me. I am the divine recipient of all the ideas of life, truth, and love. Is a great statement to affirm to yourself that I now accept these ideas from the bounty with which has already been given to me. My subconscious mind rejoices in this new material with its creative directives. He is talking about a very specific way to unlock and change the way you think. And the emphasis on expectancy at the end is very powerful. Understand what you expect is sort of a sign of what your deep subconscious is truly thinking. Change your expectations. Change your understanding of God. If you feel guilty about money or you have guilt feelings when you think of God, change that. God is not judging you for the past. You are judging you for the past. If you think that praying to God, oh, God's going to remember all those terrible things that I did when I was 5 years old, then that is a deep subconscious belief that you need to change. You are God. You have the power. It's all very clearly given here, and I hope that this inspires you and you enjoy it. All episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.